had problems
Hold
getting
on.
it well.
Yeah, let me just get the tools started.
Okay, thank you. And I will um see. And if anyone has the actual, just like the link, if you could put it in the chat, that would be
I
great.
just did.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. For some reason, I was having trouble, but
Maya,
yeah.
I had the same. I clicked on various links about 3 times, and finally I copied and pasted the link, and I managed to get
Yeah.
in.
That you have to watch out because some of the devices that you might be on might cause a line split, and therefore you're not getting the whole link going through. That's why if you're having trouble, cut and paste it into your browser, and then you've got the complete link. So then it should go through.
Maya,
Okay.
you could ask them to ask people to cut and paste it. Annette, I don't even recognize you. You've pulled your hair back. How lovely to see you.
Sorry, I'm on a tablet and I couldn't get off mute. After 4 years, I've finally come back to the US for a visit and I'm
Oh,
recovering from jet lag.
oh, you where are you? Are you in are you in Oregon?
I'm in Arizona visiting family.
Oh, oh my God, a different place.
Yeah,
Lovely to have you back in the US.
thank you.
It's always nice being in contact with you in Nepal, though. That's very exotic. We just wait, Maya, for your.
Okay, just 1 second. I've got it set up now. I'm just going to copy
Yes.
the link.
Mhm. Good.
Okay. Okay. All right, I'm
That's
back.
lovely.
Hopefully
Okay, we'll
people
give it
join.
another few minutes. Bill, you're already recording, are you?
Yes.
So since whoever is online right now, for the most of you, know that usually Zainab is focalizing this group. I shall take Zainab's place right now. She and I are in contact, but she's not able to make the meeting this time. I'm hoping she can make the next meeting. So I will be facilitating this also, I think, with Bill's help. So let's see, I think we're here. So I want to welcome everyone to today's Commons Cluster Strategy meeting. It's Saturday, the 7th of June, and I will be facilitating. I have been in contact with Zainab, and I'm hoping Zainab will be facilitating next week. Maya, you've just come from a very alive and important workshop, Communicating with Nature. Would you like to take a couple of minutes to bring in the highlights that we have in that workshop?
Okay. Let's see. I've just been focusing on getting in here, but yeah, we were communicating with Mother Earth about making that jump, about what you had brought to us, Lysinga, the connection of between us, like having us become more powerful and the connection between us as opposed to the differences. But also making a jump from where we are now to where we want to be. And that it seems that Mother Earth, from what we heard, is already there and lives there, and is with us. And that for us to keep on going, not to give up, and to keep communicating, even if we just say hello every moment. It can help us to like say hello every day to Mother Earth. It can help stabilize us with all the craziness that's going on in the world and help us to, to stay focused and to keep moving along with what we're doing, and that we are making a difference, even though it can seem like things are just getting worse. That according to her, that we're actually dealing with things that have been there with we humans all along, and it's just like they're out and it's intense, and that we can come to a place of harmony and equality as well. And so main thing is just keep going and keep stabilizing ourselves by her wise and loving presence. And also even taking a moment to notice the beauty of nature, the wild animals, even our animal family members, the trees, the plants, the blossoms, and each other is important to help us.
Thanks, Maya. You've often stressed how in everyday life, when you are functioning in everyday life, you sometimes take a few seconds just to check in with your relationship with Mother Nature and ask Mother Nature to give you advice in your day-to-day life. And that's really wonderful. And the workshop, as you mentioned, deals a lot with the connections between us. And that is really where we're going to go today. Today, we will be looking at where we want to go. We are facing a future in which artificial intelligence is going to play an increasingly large role. And Bill will spend about 5 minutes explaining what that might look like. And what we want today is to explore our relationship with this new world, personally, socially, and economically, and try to form a picture of that, of what is awaiting us as a next step in the work of the Commons Cluster, in designing our own work. One aspect of our work will take place in the big conference that will be held at the United Nations in July, and it will deal with sustainable development. And at that conference, we might hold a side event. That's a small little conference which will take about 90 minutes, in which everybody who's at the conference is invited, the member states, etc., as well as our colleagues in the civil society, to participate and to listen in. And what we have been looking at today is, why don't we just go through the steps that we might actually take in a side event like that and see how they work out. Bill, you have just started your artificial intelligence, which will actually make a summary of what happens at this workshop. And at our next workshop in July, just before the high-level political forum, we will then be able to work out the workshop in more detail. So today we are going to be looking at the world that will take place in the future, perhaps in next year already. And Bill's going to start off with that. And then we are going to have a guided imaging, each of us following our own lives, some of the things that we might be encountering personally, socially, economically, and we'll be exchanging these views that we have of the coming reality and what we might do to make it a positive next step. So I'd like to now ask Bill, you have about 5 minutes in which you're going to give us an overview of how you see the world might be changing under the great influence of artificial intelligence?
Okay, I first want to just make sure that everybody's aware. I am not talking about this as an advocate of saying, "Oh, this is what we should have." I'm trying to be more of a reporter and saying the one thing I am saying there is zero value in planning for things that are very highly unlikely to be able to happen because the world we will be living in is not compatible with the things we might be talking about. So the other thing I want to make very clear is, from my perspective, there is no such thing as intelligence in artificial intelligence. We have simulated intelligence, but at the same time, we have to recognize simulated intelligence is far more intelligent than the average human's intelligence. Okay, so when we compare, we have to make sure we're not comparing and saying the idealistic best human compared to artificial intelligence. We have to be looking at what the average or median human is involved with. Okay, AI is the fastest evolving development in human history. It went from 0 to 1 million users in 5 days and to 100 million users in 60 days. And so we really have to realize that now, as this has evolved, a lot of people looked at AI when it first came out, said, "Look at this thing; it makes mistakes, it hallucinates. Look at that; it doesn't even know how many fingers a human has. It's making pictures of humans with 8 fingers and 3 fingers and everything." But that's the past. AI is better every day. The AI right now is the worst it will ever be because it's getting better and better day by day. Whether that's good or bad, that depends on our perspective. But we have to realize that. Now, because of this and because of the capabilities of AI, one of the things we have to realize is AI has the potential that every single thing a human needs, all of the food, the shelter, the clothing, everything, the education, everything a human needs, it can be totally available for free. There is no reason it has to cost anything. Robots and AI can provide every single wish and need that humans have, and that within a few years. But what this means is we don't need the jobs for humans. We don't need humans for jobs. And there's a double perspective on that. Some people are saying, "Oh my God, where am I going to get my income from?" And others are saying, "Oh my God, my survival is no longer dependent on my job. I'm now free to pursue my passions because my needs are met." And we have to realize that. But the bottom line in both of those scenarios, there's no compensated jobs for humans. Humans are still free. If they love to paint, they can paint and they can offer, say, anybody want to share some of the things you have for what I'm creating, my creative juices? You want to watch me dance and perform? Are you willing to contribute a little something for that? So those things all continue to exist. But we probably need a new model to be able to say, how do we exchange? We use money. We trade money for goods. We trade goods for money. We trade labor for money. So money is just a tool to facilitate trading of things, exchanging of things. So we may need a new way to do that if labor does not have value, that dependent value. We need a new economic model to be able to provide that. We're going to need, and that might be things like a universal basic income, which might be financed in many, many different ways. We're probably going to need a new education model because knowledge is going to be like air. I just got off a conference call here where we're saying we're going to start using AI to close the preparation gap for education prior to kindergarten by making AI available to 2, 3, and 4-year-olds in a way that isn't not anyway. It's like human. It's not like AI. So the timetables for all of this stuff, what we thought was 2060 became 2040, and now people are saying it could be as early as 2027. So we have to be sure when we spend time trying to plan what we want to do, we have to really look at the probabilities that the world that we're planning things for is not anything like what you see when you look out your window today. And this is extremely hard for humans to imagine that what you see around you and when you walk down the street may not exist in 2 to 3 years. It's very hard for humans to imagine that within 5 to 10 years, you might see every third person you see walking down the street might be a humanoid robot. That's what a lot of people that are producing these things are saying. They're saying that by 2040, there will be as many humanoid robots walking on the planet that you cannot tell the difference between a biological human and a humanoid robot. And that's only, what is it, 15 years away? So we have to look at that. So we have to prioritize the transition. We have this possibility at a paradise here if all the production capabilities of robots and AI are shared. We have this opportunity at a paradise for everybody. But if the owners of the AI and the robots decide they don't want to share, they want to keep it all for themselves, and they describe the rest of the humans are useless classes. They're a danger to them. Let's just get rid of them. We have to make sure that our actions that we plan, don't worry about trying to protect jobs. You can't do it. But what we can, and entrepreneurism is not going to solve any kind of problems out there at all. So, because you're going to have to compete with a robot that'll do it for free. So the one thing we've got to do is put our efforts in to making sure that we end up with a sharing of the benefits and resources of this planet. Just because you were born on a piece of land that had oil under it doesn't mean you deserve to have more than somebody that was born on barren rock with no water. So we have to prepare for a transition. And we have to take our time to go and lobby people, make people aware so that they will work and advocate to try to come up with a fair sharing of the planet's resources in a way that we realize we're all in the same boat. We got to protect those resources. We got to protect our planet and we got to protect each other. We have to lobby the forces to be, the people, the decision makers, that they decide that way and they don't decide to get rid of the rest of us because we're just causing pollution and have no value to them. And so don't waste your time on trying to protect or create jobs because the writing's on the wall. Unless we are willing to make a decision to stop all that development, which it's going in the opposite direction right now, and all the countries are deathly afraid somebody else will discover stuff before them. So we've got to put our effort in, especially at things like the High Level Political Forum and the UN, to lobby, make awareness of where the world is going, what the risks are, and the benefits that could be, the incredible benefits, healthcare, no diseases, no hunger, all these incredible benefits, but only if we can get people to agree to work together and share multilateralism, if you would. So that's basically it. It's don't waste your time trying to protect the status quo. Don't go and say, let's just tweak a little bit because some of you may believe what I described in that world of where you're going to be spending most of your day talking to your AI companion, the Alexa plus 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 or whatever, that you may not think that world is coming, but just look at what's happened in the last 2 years alone and think there's double that time left just to 2030 where we're likely to be. Right now, the projections are some people are projecting 2026, the humans will be surpassed. So think of the probabilities and let's go and come up with ideas on how we're going to shape the world or cause the world to move in a direction that benefits us all rather than thinking, how can we prevent the world from evolving to the way it looks like it's evolving? Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. So what we are in fact going to do is we're going to
You
now
have some
focus
hands up, Lucinka, I think.
on,
Annette?
yes, well, just a minute, I'd like to just complete. So
Okay.
what we want to focus on now is sort of the world that we want to actually see, and which is based on humans and human connection, which will also be building on what Maya was doing at the last workshop. What I'd like to do here is not to get into a discussion about AI. Bill, you've given us a beautiful overview. if somebody wants to add something about the world they see coming, we could take a few minutes to do that. But I don't want to get into a discussion of what Bill said. Let it take that as being Bill's statement. If you have a statement next to that about what might be happening with AI or something else, let's do that. Let's take about 5 minutes to do that. And now let me just go back to the group and let's see who does have their hand up. You did, thanks. Annette, let's hear from you.
So when Bill was talking, Mother Nature said, the answer is in the book that Lisinka and Maya, you put together with other people around the world, Transforming Our World in Harmony with Nature. And she said, go to number 12. And so I looked at number 12 and on the final report, and number 12 is, hold on, it's loading, is about consumption and production. And so I know it might be hard to believe, but for those who don't participate in animal and nature communication, but Mother Earth is with us right here in this conversation, and she contributed this information. So it might be worth us individually or together at some point to go over STG number 12 in the Transforming Our World document. So that's what I wanted to share.
Thanks, Annette. Indeed, SDG 12 is on sustainable consumption and production. And actually, that is definitely going to be part of what we discussed today. We're first going to look at our own contributions and the society we're creating, but also we'll look at the economy. So that is definitely very much critical to what we're going to discuss. Is there anyone else who has their hand up?
Yeah,
Someone? Yes,
this-
Maya. Yes.
I'd like to share. I want to acknowledge you, Bill. Thank you for sharing what you shared. And I think that point, especially about not fighting this and trying to stop it, the AI, or get in the way of it, but more choosing how we want it to come. Like, how do we want things to be? And so that it's equally beneficial or, detrimental or whatever to everyone. Like we're all in it together, like you said, that if we are trying to put roadblocks in the front of it, we're just wasting our time and energy. We really need to get on board. It's happening, and to be a part of guiding it and a part of having our voice in how we wanted this to develop and be in the world. So thank you. Thank you for all that you've shared and all that you've been looking into and researching. I think it's really important.
Thanks, Maya. Is somebody else wanting to add something to that? Just start speaking. Okay, well, we'll move on now to the next part. So what I'd like to do is to begin with a guided movement in which we realize that our body, our mind, our breath, our relationship to Mother Nature, to society and the economy, all these things are connected. And so even how we breathe helps us to zero in on different dimensions. So I wanted to begin with looking at our breath and breathing in and out and being conscious of how we breathe. Breathing in and breathing out. And then lengthening our exhalation. So we breathe in and then out with a longer exhalation. In and then the longer exhalation, and feel how there's a sort of a quiet that comes about within you as you do that. And now allow that to come from the heart level and to be filled with love as you do that, breathing in love and then exhaling love. And as you do that longer exhalation and the breathing, feel how you spread that love around where you are right now, the room, the house, the town, the country, the continent, the world. Feel that in an exhalation of love, spreading that feeling of love to connect all of us and all of us who are now working together in the context of this meeting. And as you feel that love, allow that love to come back to yourself, into your heart and your being, and to touch and to make conscious that within you that you most love to do. That part that might, in this new world, be able to find even more expression. What is the thing that you really love doing in your life, the way that you love to be, the types of things you love to do and to achieve? What is this? And how would this be able to develop in the world in which you have a lot of free time and you have resources to live? And now imagine that it's not just you, but all of your friends and your family and the community and the people around you also are able to focus on what they love to do. What sort of a human community would we have? There'll be more time to be with each other, with our passions. What types of things would develop in these interactions? What sort of society would develop in which all people are coming into their strength and feeling fulfilled? What type of society would develop? What types of decision-making bodies would there be in the home, the community, the country? And what types of new dimensions would come into being to enable people to develop, to enable the communication between human beings that are developing into full, loving human beings, being able to fulfill their fullness of who they are? And now let's come back together to be with the group. What types of passions, perhaps one or two of you would like to mention the types of passions that you would be expressing in your life? What types of passions would you see yourself developing? if someone would like to just speak up and mention, and then would someone like to begin?
I'll share, Lisinka.
Yes, Maya.
Writing, being, having classes, more classes, and travel, and yeah, creating games, just fun, like fun ways for to uniting us and celebrating life.
That's beautiful. Who'd like to build on that? Just start to speak.
I will speak. I'll build on it. Meeting Maya as a teacher and going to school with her 4 years, I get to realize those dreams and goals. And I'm living it right now, and it's unbelievable. But I just left the US and I'm teaching animal and nature communication in countries that are suffering from human and wildlife conflicts on very little money, and being opened with arms and open arms all around the world, and learning how wonderful people are, and writing a children's book with this group. I was a real estate broker, you guys, and learning how to care for a captive elephant feet. I'm living proof that it can happen, even in times when we consider dark times.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'd love to say that. Yeah, Annette took off 4 years ago, and and it's having an amazing adventure. And yes, a few days ago, I met a new student in person, and she's a big fan of Annette's. And so I'm bringing those two together. And she's been kind of following Annette, so it's really great. Yeah.
Mona, you're moving in a complementary in terms of values, but you're moving in a direction which is directed at humans and the home. Would you like to say a few things about what you're doing? Your passion and how that is spreading. You spoke for the Commons Cluster at the Women's Conference at the UN, and after that, a group formed. Do you have something you'd like to share?
Yeah, hi, Lisinka. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. I talk about a home a lot, and I've been researching on a home since actually throughout my life. And the reason was that I just wanted to know the answer to a question why we do not accept any work done in a home as work. Because I had seen my mother, my aunts being very treated very badly, and I had seen very painful death of theirs. And since 2015, I had been defining a home, and my book is also out. And this passion I had of finding the answer. I've worked in corporates a lot, and the similarity between how a corporate functions and how a home function, and the similarity I found, and then I've written a book regarding the various jargons we have in the organizations like leadership and emotional intelligence, how that starts from a home. Because I just wanted to say that. Just like an organization, when we are making a family, that is also our personal organization, and everything starts from there. So that's then I've spoken at the high level political forum, and last I did a side event with the NGO CSW on inclusion of unpaid work in GDP calculation, because I believe we have a lot of myths understanding about what exactly is unpaid work and what is a home and who's a homemaker, because it's an intergenerational trauma which is going on, because we end up saying the same things to a mother, somebody who, anybody, mother, the role can be played by any gender. We end up saying the same thing, that what you are doing in a home is not worthwhile. So, and to create a perspective where there is more worth to what we do in a home, I started the Family Maker Award, and I try to change the perspective of people, because I believe we do not survive without a home, and our policies are absolutely against living, because a home just cannot be made like this, because we will die fighting who is going to do the work in a home, because there is no onus, there is no responsibility, there is no accountability, because as soon as you start doing the work yourself, it is always going to be free, and that free is called unpaid. It was never supposed to be paid. Who is going to pay a mother? And it can be any gender. When we do our home, we'll start to learn to do our work in a home, and that is always going to be free. So that concept that what we are doing is supposed to be like that is just not taken, is not accepted, and that is what I feel is the foundational part of what we have built is on something is completely wrong, because we have built buildings over the foundation that only pay work which is paid is supposed to be work, and that foundation is completely wrong, because work starts first as free, and it is supposed to be free. That is why it is unpaid. So I'm just trying to change the perspective of people regarding a home. So that's been my work, and it's there online and LinkedIn. If you like to know more, please go ahead. And I would love to get your comments or your questions. I would love to know more about your perspective. That would be great.
Thank you,
Thank
Mona.
you.
Wonderful. And you're really pointing ahead to the next part, which will be dealing with the unpaid work, which we're all going to be faced with. But first, is there anybody else who'd like to share the passion that they have in their personal life? It might relate to your family, it might relate to your community, it might relate to the world, whatever it is. If somebody else would like to share that. Denny, you were mentioning something interesting about the necessity for people to read. Would you like to share a little bit about your passion, which you've been working and write about every day?
Lysinka, also Malvika has her hand up as well.
Oh, okay. I'm not seeing any hands here. So shall we start with Malvika if you had your hand up and then go to Denny? Malvika.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm
Mm.
Malvika. I'm in India, and my passion is understanding the workings of the inner world. I'm an empath. Um, so if I'm healing, say, a particular energy, I feel that energy leave my system. So I know how it works. But still, being an engineer by qualification and being surrounded by people who are very logic oriented, and from a business family, it's been very difficult for me to uh, you know give that self validation, and I'm extremely passionate. I feel everything, whatever we are facing, is the crisis, be it climate crisis, be it animal welfare, it all stems from the evolution in consciousness, and we can only contribute, or be it the treatment of animals as we at the level we are at. So it's just vice versa, and I believe, and of course we all know that there's a big shift happening. uh, so I'm extremely passionate about even meditation sessions. So the previous session that we have, where we were speaking with Mother Earth, I have facilitated the Twin Hearts meditation session, which is also altruistic meditation, where we bless Earth, and that has helped me connect with reality in a positive way. Otherwise, I would be running away from reality. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Malvita. Denny, would you like to share yours?
I wasn't ready for this.
Yes. Would you like to
So,
share about your passion and what you write about every day?
well, thinking about it, I grew up in Wales, and I'm part of an old culture. So the idea of connecting with nature, I was connected from the moment I was born. That's where my family was. And my father would take me outside when there was a thunderstorm, so I could feel the energy. So that piece of me is huge. But I'm also a scientist. So my work goes across the social and physical sciences. I started writing when we've got a picture of me on it with an orange box outside my nana's house in South Wales. It's a coal miner's cottage. And I'm writing. I must have been about 4. So I write every day. If I don't write, I don't really exist. I have to write. It's a form of meditation. So these pieces come together, and activism and especially for children. So I don't know. I have no idea why I get up at 5 o'clock and I'm writing, apart from taking my dog into the park 4 times a day. Most days I'm here writing. And I'm peaceful. And if I might say so, fearless. My writing is pretty out there in some ways as an activist. And I don't really talk about myself very often. So that's probably enough, isn't it? You
Jenny,
think?
that's absolutely beautiful. And I know that you work with children's reading. What I'm seeing is the inner strength, which you just touched on in each one of you, because each one of you are dealing with topics that are not necessarily mainstream, and where I'm sure you get a lot of flack. Whether it's unpaid work and the fact that, we all start in this environment of love, and that's our springboard into reality, or the connections that we're making with nature, which are normally not even talked about. And many people do it, but very few actually talk about it. Um, Malvika, you are also bridging the gap, the divide between science and this larger perspective, as are several of you, taking what we have just heard and also what lives in our own lives. For me, the big passion is to see connection between things at every level, emotional at every possible level. And it expresses itself, of course, also of building the unity within the UN. So all of us have our own ways. And what would a society look like of people like yourselves with your passion and with the fearlessness that comes when you're actually living your passion? What type of a society would we have when each human being is allowed to fulfill themselves? They have time, they have the opportunity. How would such a society organize itself? there would be organization in the family, in the community. How would a community like that organize itself?
So, Lysinka,
Yes, Yvonne.
yeah, I think idealistically we'd say we'd be all kumbaya and get along, but I think we still have human nature. Whatever reason we're here, who we are, our concerns, our worries, competitiveness, all these things that people make up all the time. And I think we will still have idle hands will create problems. And yeah, so on the altruistic side or the positive side, I think it's going to be very beautiful. People will get along and have an opportunity to self-develop. But then there's the other side of those who are just going to be different.
And that is such an important thing to bring in, because I know that so many of us are totally aware of the extreme danger we're living in right now. And it's a danger of exactly the opposite sort of world that we've just been discussing. It's the one where I am important and I am more important than others. I put others down, and sometimes I use the most extreme ways of putting them down. It's a world where we actually choose leaders democratically to lead us who are such people. And it's happening in more and more countries. It's a world almost where the connections that we've been talking about are falling apart to the eyes of most people. I once saw a film, I saw a couple of films in which we had there were different levels of paint, different weights of paint in a tank of water, and electricity was passed through, a certain vibration, and there was complete chaos. And then you got this beautiful pattern as that stabilized. And then the energy was changed again, and you got complete chaos. And then a new pattern arrived with this new energy. And the same could be done again and again. And there are a number of experiments of this sort, where you have a system, the energy changes, and the harmony which was in the system completely falls apart, and then a new harmony develops. So perhaps we are now in such a place where the divisions are becoming more and more apparent, the chaos is becoming more and more apparent, and we could disintegrate as a humanity, annihilate ourselves, or we might move to another level of togetherness.
Mm.
So we have these two sides, and thank you, Yvonne, for pointing that out. That just because we're focusing on harmony, that doesn't mean to say that the world is going to be harmonious. What can a society look like where we have these two aspects, the aspect of bringing things together, building on love and caring and well-being of people, and the other one where people are uptight, trying to defend their own turf and fighting? How can what society can develop that can embrace these two things and allow something durable to come about? Is there any vision of such a society that we might have?
Can I just
Denny? Yes.
one of the things that I think about a great deal and actually research, though, is the idea that we need to figure out ways to prepare children so that they are more resourceful and resilient, and that a lot of that comes through the ways in which they are taught or not taught at this particular moment in time. But the more time that is spent with children in their early years, reading stories with them and writing with them and listening to the questions that they have around the problems that are related to their everyday lives and how we need to bring that back. And it's not just because it's progressive education or whatever, it's a matter of survival that children develop the inner strength and that we're standing with them at a time when, especially in this country, children are really, well, I think they're suffering. As many, the stats on children and suicide, for instance, second cause of death in young children. We have to do something in this country to change the way that we're working with children so that they have a chance to even think about the world which you're presenting. And those things, two things go together, you know, the idea of resilience and then foresight into what life might be. So
More wonderful, Denny. And so I'm thinking that we've been talking about our relationship with nature, Mona, and a relationship of the woman and the home, the relationship with children. These are really important to build these relationships into connective relationships and to recognize what Yvonne you were saying, that our world is actually at a point where there's a much more emphasis on personal individuation as opposed to other people rather than together. What other types of things can we bring up now? What could help this society deal with those that are into wanting to take power over others and to bully them, and to help the new society to come about, this new harmony that might be trying to emerge? What else can we bring out and do in this sort of society setting, recognizing there are many people like those here who are into developing themselves and creating that inner unity? Bhakti, I see your hand is up. Please. Bhakta, would you like to talk? Are you on mute?
Bhatka, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself, Bhatka.
Go down to the bottom left-hand side, and there's a little mic, and click on that.
There
I
we go.
did it.
You
I'm
did
on
it.
my
Brilliant.
phone and I'm kind of can't find the buttons here. So I just wanted to share I'm in the redwoods at the moment. And I love talking to trees. I've always loved talking to trees. And I realize they're all so different, you know, and sometimes there are these messages of love, and I'm filled with gratitude. And so I was approaching this beautiful, maybe 1,500-year-old spruce tree in the Olympic rainforest. And I had this expectation that it was going to be this communication of, and it was quite a different tree. It was like a very strict teacher. And it told me about greed, and it told me about all the things it had witnessed, and 1,500 years, you know, of the greed in humanity, cutting down the forests, getting rid of the Native Americans in that part of the forest. And it was kind of jarring and shocking. It was such an intensity. And then I was like, well, what I'm going to do about it? And then I realized that all I can do is become aware of my own greed. And, you know, the first response might be, yeah, but I'm not like that. I can tell you about very greedy people, but I'm trying to not be like that. But if I really, really look, you know, I can find that greed in myself, even I realized, oh, I want to pick these flowers. There's so many, like on this meadow behind me, there's so many wildflowers, and they're anyway going to be cut down. So I'm going to have this beautiful bouquet of flowers, but I can see my greed in that. I want to grab them. I want to have them. I want to have them for myself and keep them as long as I can. And I felt that the message from this tree was that the only way I can really help is to bring awareness about these things. And I think really greed is at the core of it. The tree said, greed is what will kill you. Greed will be your downfall as humanity. And I think that I can see the truth of that, and that all I can do is bring awareness to all the little nuances, little things or big things. I am greedy, and not do it with judgment or fear, but just the humanness of it. You know, we're human, we have greed, and embracing that with love in myself. And once I have that awareness, I can't actually do it. And I think that awareness can be infectious. You know, it's like when you are close to Maya and there's like, you become infected by that love for animals. Or I think that's a way to contribute something. And that's the opportunity, because to become aware of these things, it needs time, it needs space. I sometimes feel like I have to walk for hours in the forest before I'm even at a place where I can really become aware of things in myself. So if we're just busy with survival, trying to make a living, it's very hard to see these things in ourselves. And that if that was taken care of by AI, that would be such an opportunity. And then the other thing, I loved what you said earlier, you know, creation, destruction, the breath of the universe. And you said that maybe, you know, we're going to be all destroyed, or there could be a shift, but maybe it's both. You know, maybe something old is going to be destroyed in a very big way. And there's going to be a shift, because like transformation of a caterpillar implies that there's going to be destruction of the caterpillar. I think that's part of real transformation. And I had this, I want to share one other thing, if it's okay. I had this strong connection suddenly out of the blue with this huge elephant seal. Told me he was called Frank on this beach here somewhere. And the horror, there was such a horror of so many of the seals dying. And then I looked it up. It's actually happening. There's an algae, very early algae thing. And I wanted to share that because you were talking about the UN looking at ocean health, and they don't know why it's so early in the year that so many of them are dying. And I could feel that horror in myself and that panic. And why is he talking to me? And what am I supposed to do? And I felt this deep horror. And then I realized that that's not helpful. There are some practical things I can do. I can make a donation helping the people that help them at the beach. And I can embrace it, you know, not talking myself out of it, that everything is going to be okay, and not feeling guilty and horrible and sorry for it, but I can embrace it with love. And again, you know, that is a luxury. I have that luxury right now to come to that place and be able to find that place in myself where I can embrace Frank, that elephant seal, with love, the way it is right now. But if I have to struggle to make a living, I'm not able to do that. Nobody can do that. So that's the opportunity that I see for this new beginning if we talk about AI. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share that.
A very profound sharing, Bhakta. And from your description of elephants, seals, and redwoods, looking out of the window, I have redwoods here. We are probably both in California.
Yeah. I'm at Prairie Creek, the Prairie Creek Redwood Forest.
Oh,
Having like a little retreat for 2 weeks here, and then we go more north.
oh, how wonderful.
Mhm.
Yes, what you touched on was very profound, and I know that from my own life, that you can't really change anything else unless you're willing to change within yourself. And that's an ongoing process of being open to seeing one's own imbalances as they come about. It could be that we're greedy at one moment or something else at another part, but actually sort of bringing into this whole equation our awareness of ourselves, our minute to minute awareness of ourselves and how we're relating within ourselves to ourselves, but also to our environment and making those inner changes. We're really moving into quite profound areas here. Thank you so much for bringing all that in. What sort of a
Think
society?
if I could just add, I'd like to add a
Yes,
follow on
please.
to what several people just mentioned here. Uh,
Yes.
Baca is said something very, very profound on that, and that is that so many, especially for people who are whose passion is about things that are mostly ignored today. And the battle that if you've got to be fighting for survival continually, you're making compromises with your the things you're passionate about that are usually bad for the things you're passionate about. So I think that that idea that if we can make sure that AI goes in the right direction, it's going to free people up to focus more on these exactly the kinds of things so many of you have mentioned. And it's in our ability to do so. I think this is really important. At the same time, we have to realize how far we've got to go because Denny pointed out on children and the education situation here. What we have found in the United States right now more than is roughly 70% of the children in the United States are not getting an adequate education. In fact, when we went to look at what percentage of American children get a full education across the board, it's less than 4%. Less than 4%. And in fact, we found that there are schools, primary schools, here, even in New Jersey, where 1 out of every 3 boys entering first grade is statistically damned to spend a year in prison before they're 30 years old. Imagine it. 1 out of every 3 boys. If that was a disease, this would be a national emergency. At the same time, here, it's those children. I get blown away by the ideas, the recognition that so many children have of the issues that are going on there and what has to be done about it. I participated or observed a session discussing what are we doing? How come with all these efforts from people like on this call and so many, we do over 1 million projects a year in this world dedicated to try to improving many of the things related to the SDGs, yet we don't see any progress. And so we're looking at that, and one of the things that they brought up is, well, where's the projects that have the goal to bring about a meaningful difference? We can't find those projects. And so the question is, are we setting goals based on what we think we can do, or are we setting goals based on what's needed? And unless we set the goals, and you can't hit what you don't aim for. So unless we set the goals for what we want, what we need, we have no chance of getting them. And so when we mention about this whole thing that Gandhi was saying here, it starts with yourself, just be the change you want to see in the world. And actually it's statements like that that are causing us to fail to do what we need because we are not going and setting the goals, making sure that the goals are what we need. And we had a 14-year-old boy looking at that and thinking about something Michelangelo had said about the problem for most people is that not that they set goals too high and fail, but that they set goals too low and succeed. And this 14-year-old boy, he said, should we fail, let it not be because we did not aim high enough. And then another young person here said in a similar fashion here about Wanting somebody to do something or something to happen and not planning to cause it to happen is the definition of wishful thinking. He was taking that off of that Einstein quote about doing the same thing over and over, expecting different outcomes is the definition of insanity. So his answer was, well, wanting something to happen and not planning to cause it to happen is the definition of wishful thinking. And we can't afford to limit ourselves to wishful thinking. So what we've been talking about here is when we think about the high-level political forums and the message that we can do, we have got to set the goal at what we really believe is needed to be done and not be afraid if even if we don't know how to do it and we're not even sure it's doable, if we don't try, then it's guaranteed it's not going to be doable. So I would encourage in this session that when we look at these, that we make sure we set the goals on what's needed, and then we work on finding out the answer and not limit ourselves to what we think we can do or not limit ourselves to what we think is practical. That's for sure a way not to achieve what's needed. Thank you.
Bill, you've moved us on to another part of what we did in the meditation, which is sort of getting to the society that we want. How would it be if we first of all envisage that society? Everybody just throws in what we see that society needs, and then look at the steps that we would need to take. We've already had aspects of those societies that many of you have mentioned: children, the home, communication with nature, taking care of animals, education, etc. Let's look at what is the ideal global society that we would want. Bhakta, did you
Yes.
say something? I heard you just, no?
Oh, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. Well, I see it.
I was thinking something, so
Okay, all right, let's have it.
I was listening to your question, and I felt that if we could have a world where people enjoy being alive, because with all the intelligence and capability that AI might have in the future, we are alive. You know, we can walk in the redwoods and talk to the trees. We can listen to our dog breathing at night, or we are alive. We can feel all this pain and all this joy. And that's my vision, that people could actually be alive while they're in this mystery, whatever that means to them, whatever makes them feel alive, you know, writing or dancing or doing nothing or being with others. Or
Aliveness. I saw a quick glimpse go by about parents. Would somebody like to go into that? What they were wishing to say there about parents. Is that Malvika?
That's
Yes.
right. Yes. So one of my startup ideas was selected in a boot camp. This was a few years ago. It didn't make it to the final list, but it was appreciated for the thought that parenting is a science. You can never be a perfect parent, but there are so many people with very low EQs, deciding to bring children up and raise them. And it's so much of a pressure that you're supposed to have children, especially in India. And then the cycle starts there. And I feel we need we need parents to have, well, I wouldn't say use the word license, but yes, you need to be qualified to raise another life. So it can happen through a basic courses, and also in schools. You can't just have a parent teacher meeting discussing the child but you also need counselors to help parents raise themselves.
Wow,
Yes.
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's
Would like to
absolutely
add,
nice. Can I
yes,
speak something?
Mona, yes.
Yes. Something called the I always talk about Malvika, that is very nice because I talk about when I talk about the home, I talk about something called parent leadership, because parents are the leaders of their children, because eventually you're shaping a new leader, and everything you are going to do is going to get followed. So as a parent, you need to raise yourself every time, and as a mother, I can say it's a very tough job to bring up children, because nothing is perfect. You don't know the rules. You're just doing what intuitively you feel is right. And yeah, there are some many a times you do not do a good job, and then sometimes you reflect back and think, "Oh, I could have done that better." And you know that reflection is very important. And as then you raise yourself, every time you make mistake, and then you realize, okay, that's not the way it is done. So it happens to, parenting is a very difficult task, and I always talk about it in terms of the leadership, because you are all the leadership concepts we talk about in organizations. It happens at home also. It's the same thing. So yes, absolutely agree with you. And as a society, I think what Nezinka you're talking about. When we are talking about society, I always envision it as a society which is living in harmony with nature, because eventually when we are talking about doing our own work, the ability, when I'm talking about how it is going to, who's going to accept when we are talking about unpaid work, I see the thing is that it needs acceptance, because we do not have the right to do our own work. We should realize that unless we have the right to do our own work, which is always going to be free, which is accepted, then only the paid work comes secondary. Paid work, because see, cooking was first done in a home, and then it became a business. It was not the other way around. We keep talking about the paid work, and then unpaid work is not looked at in par with each other. So what I feel is that, of course, businesses and jobs are going to be there, but we are not everybody. Right now, what is happening is that we accept at all times everybody is got to prove themselves by doing paid work, but that is not the case. Only those people in the age group of 18 to 60 years old who are educated, and for just 8 hours they are supposed to do paid work. But right now we have our policies are such that everybody needs to prove themselves by doing paid work, and that is what productivity means. So what I envision is that if this we come out of this, what we have done, then of course business and jobs will be there, but eventually we will be more in harmony with nature, because our homes would be much more happier, because we as a society would live more cohesively and more happily, because we realize that doing first our work is more important, and then we do the secondary work, that is paid work. That's what I believe.
So it
Thank you.
seems that what Bill is saying, Mona, is that actually that is where we are headed, and that this unpaid work will be for everybody.
Yeah,
So
but if I'd like to comment on what Mona and said in about the situation with children in general. Yes, the session I just got off of before this, we talked about here having children being able to outfit preschools so that we have AI as instructors, so children will be raised by AI, not by humans. And the here's wait a minute, let me explain why. Because we found here we have cities in the United States here, where more than 70% of the parents of the public school children are victims of drug abuse and substance abuse, and are not taking care of their children. And it's so bad, it's not just here. I actually am aware of a report in schools in Germany where children were coming to school barefoot in their pajamas in the snow in the winter, where they go to school where the sun hasn't come up yet, it's still dark. And when they ask those children, there's a volunteer program to try to help those children. When they asked the children, why are you doing that? Is they said, if we turn the light on to get dressed in the morning, our parents will beat us. So that's an example that we're getting. We have examples that we saw at a Cologne in Germany where teachers are trying to find the parents of the kids who are staying with neighbors and whatnot because they can't find the parents. So we have to realize that there's a certain ideal. We have parents that can be helped and we can do something about that. But at the end of the day, it's the children themselves. We have to do the best we can. And we have to realize we do it as a society. It's not up to that parent, because if that parent is unable to do what's needed for their child, we have to step in. Those children, like somebody said, it takes the village to raise a child. It takes really the whole society to make sure that all our children are healthy, because that child's going to grow up and they're not going to be able to take care of their children for the same reasons. And now AI, we have this capability that ideally, yes, we do want that good parent, and ideally we want that good preschool teacher like they have in Finland in the program there. But if we don't have that, what's the best we can do? And one of the things we're seeing, we can emulate the behavior of the best parents and the behavior of the best preschool teachers with those young people, so that when they hit first grade, they are equally prepared to have a chance at a good life and a successful life as the wealthy who send their children to these private preschools. Thank you.
Thank you. So now what we're dealing with, first of all, the need for each one of us to be in touch with how we're growing. We need to see that in the family, there is the wherewithal to help to nurture the young as they get catapulted into society. We see that we need to have the society in which everybody has an opportunity to grow and fulfill themselves, and that all these things are possible. What would the decision making look like in a community, let's say, that would allow all these things really to flourish? What would the decision making look like? What does the society, the way in which society functions? Can someone put their thoughts onto that, so that we can bring what we have, this very rich mixture of potential and of things that are already happening, but how can we create a social structure that will allow these things to really come into their own? And let's realize we have different units. We have the family unit, we have the community unit, and be it the religious community or the hobby community, whatever else. We have the actual living community where people live, the houses around. We have the country, etc., and we have the world. What would be the approach we can take there? How can we allow the right people to be representing us, etc.? Are there particular values that we have? Are there particular modalities that we could use in order to choose people? What would that look like?
I'd like to share something really quick that over the last 4 years, my expectations for transformation are very different than the opportunities that have automatically presented themselves to me to do the same outcome. And an example, I had people in a small island that believed very much in what I was doing, and we were trying to force it where I would go into communities. And at the end of the day, they said, Annette, it's not going to happen. If you go there, you're going to get murdered. People don't want to be told what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to get murdered. So I asked nature for help. I'm like, okay, elephants, if you want me to go there, I'll let you run the show. I can't force things. A week later, I was invited by a Buddhist monk in one of the heavily areas of human elephant deaths to come and teach animal communication to the community that comes and worships at his temple. And I didn't do a thing. I was just going to an Airbnb to visit a historic site, and the things just led to one another. And those kinds of things happen to me all the time. When I try to force things, or my expectations for change or how it should be have been turning out very different than the opportunities. And maybe just being present to opportunities that come to you is something to remember. I don't know.
That sounds very profound. That is indeed something, of course, that we all have to do. We have to be present within ourselves to see the opportunities of our own development, but we also need to do that in our surroundings where we are. Can we build on this? How
Lucinda,
allowing
I just want to
the
caution you on the time. We're over 90 minutes.
Oh my goodness, right. Okay, well, would someone like to thank you? It's amazing how fast this time has gone. Would someone like to summarize what we've got so far, and possibly if somebody could make a mention of where we might go as a society, or perhaps I'll just put out some ideas that in each community and family there should be sort of openness to the input from each of the individuals, and then a sort of a communication and building on that. And if we can have that happen within the family, within the community, etc., that might be a way to go. But if somebody would like to make some summarizing remarks, let's have some summarizing remarks.
I'd like to just caution again here that we are all here because we care. We feel there are things that could help the world, and we want to make a difference. That's why we're here. And the only thing, going back to the idea, we have to have goals that are meaningful, that will actually really make a difference. So even though those goals may sound like, well, they're gazillion times higher than anything we can imagine. Again, if you can't hit what you don't aim for. So whether we're looking individually or whether we got to go and find others to join us so that we can have a chance to achieve those goals, don't settle. The problem, going back, we can look back decades, and all that's happened is people have settled for what they think they can do, or settled for what's happening. And I think here we have to wake up, identify the dangers for the future, but identify the positives, define what we want, and come up with a plan of how we're going to cause it to happen. Don't say it's not our right to cause it to happen, because then you're just saying, well, whatever happens, not my fault. Hey, I really feel strongly that we have to be proactive to make a difference, to bring about the better world that we believe is possible, regardless of whether we're stepping on others that think here, hey, I have the right to kill the people around me and take what's theirs, because everybody has free will and free right to do whatever they want. Our society is based on the idea that you have to care about society and you've got to follow rules of society, and we can help shape those, but we can't just ignore and say, not my problem. That's the only thing I'd like to leave with everybody. Thank you.
Bill, would you then like to end us by saying what are the steps that we can take to cause something like that to happen? What
Well,
would
we
be
started off talking about the high-level political forum and what can we do? We have there an opportunity to send out a message that we hope will create awareness of the problem, create awareness that we have the power to make a difference, and create awareness of some of the potential things that are not good in this world and some of the things that could be better, and how. Goes back to what that young boy said about if you want something to happen and you don't have a plan to cause it to happen, it's wishful thinking. So let's put together a plan of how we can encourage others to make a difference in the world, because there's a lot of people out there right now that are thinking here it's their right. You know, if you're sitting on land that's got valuable minerals under it, it's their right to take it. Okay, so what are we going to do about that? How are we going to convince people? How do we convince people to believe in themselves that they can participate in making a difference? Because right now, people are turning their backs on international cooperation. They're turning their backs on political engagement because they don't believe they can make a difference. And we have the capability to encourage. We have to be that coach and that mentor to our whole society. How that yes, you can do it. Go for it, and get people to believe in themselves, and then we'll be able to build a coalition that will be able to accomplish those things that we're talking about. So I think that's my recommendation. Let's go and plan a side event that's focused on creating awareness of some bad things that could happen if we don't act, and some good things that can happen if we do act, and get people to believe they've got the ability to make a difference if they do act. Thank you.
Perhaps what we can do is to set up a document, and everybody gives input into that document as to the steps we can take to make that difference. Bill, would you be able to set up a document?
I'll set up a document and pass it on to you here. That the document would be really about figuring out how do we become the influencer to the world. That's what we're really talking about. That's our opportunity to be an influencer in the world, to help bring about the world we believe would benefit all better than where we're going. So
And we've already covered a whole lot in this group as to what that consists of, starting with the inner awareness, the inner changes, the changes in the family, the changes in our connections to nature, the connections in education. These are all different steps that can be taken, which have already been brought up, and perhaps we can put those out in the document, and perhaps we can build on those steps in the interim, and then we will go from there at our next meeting, which will be in July. Bill, you could set up the document. Is everybody on our mailing list? Is everybody part of the WhatsApp group?
No.
If you're not part of the mailing list, what can we do? Maya, do you have any ideas of to get everybody part of the mailing list?
Let's see. We could send it out to our lists and, invite people to contribute. Give some instructions about it, even for our friends and colleagues who are not with us today.
Yeah.
We could send out an invitation.
I just added here because some of the people that are on this call found out about the call through one way or another, and they're not on any of our lists. So I just put my contact information, my WhatsApp contact information in the chat. So if you contact me and let me know you want to be added to the Commons Cluster WhatsApp group, then I will see that you get added, or I'll pass it on to Lasinka or someone else.
Zainab, yes, that would
Yeah,
be
Zainab.
great.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Bill.
Great. Okay, so we'll put that out then. I want to thank everyone. It's been an incredibly rich group discussion, but what has allowed that discussion to take place has been the energy of all of you who've participated. And that energy is the energy which actually births what actually comes out of the group. And I want to thank every one of you for being here. And I look forward to continuing working together with everyone. Take care.
Thank you all.
Bye all.
Bye.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.